It is. WEFM is SVG.
28 minutes on to 11 o'clock here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You're locked on to WEFM 99.9, the Clean Fresh Sound, and this is your Is Your Turn program. Remember, Is Your Turn is an interactive program, so the numbers to call are 457-9997 if you're calling from a local landline, 532-9997 if you're calling from a digital cell phone, and you can also call or send us a message on WhatsApp at 457-9994. The Isiotan program is being hosted by Mr. Cecil Ryan, Mr. Philbert John, and Mr. George Providence. Good morning to you, Cecil.
Good morning to you, Kieran, and good morning to you, Pijan, and all our listeners, whether you're listening on the WEFM platform or the Star Radio, Star FM, or Garfin Radio. We greet you very warmly. Our third co-host, not second co-host really, is not here yet, but he's going to join us shortly, Mr. George Providence, of course. And we're happy to be with you this morning. It's another nice Sunday morning in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Pijan?
Yes, thank you very much, Cecil. Good morning. Good morning, Kieran. Good morning to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and to all persons listening to WEFM wherever you are. Greetings. It's beautiful weather, and it's good to be back as we focus on some important issues on this Sunday.
Yes, all right. As I said, Joel will join us shortly. I'm sure he's in the near vicinity. Interestingly enough, and he can expand when he gets in. And well, there are a number of issues we're going to be touching on. Issues appearing in the paper over the last week, and there are some that have come out of interaction with other persons. So we're going to be dealing with those issues, and when he gets in, we would go more fully into those issues. But just wanted to say, Pijan, I know last week on the program, PM did encourage us to do a visit to the Sandals facilities that is under construction at Bukuma. I didn't get to reach out to the PM during the week, but Joel and I paid a visit there yesterday, and we were lucky enough for the security elements to allow us. In fact, they kind of gave us a guided tour around the facilities, and it's an amazing project that's happening there. Very expansive and detailed, and what can I say? It looks fantastic, and that project can be, in my view, I've visited so many countries all over the world, and it's not finished, but in its construction phase, I can see already that project would be comparable to any tourism project anywhere in the world. I'm telling you, persons can go there themselves and do their own observation. Joel and I took pictures. We spoke with persons, vendors. We spoke with persons who came there just to enjoy the beach. And we spoke to other persons, workers. Joel, I don't speak Spanish, but Joel does fluently, so I was able to interact with some of the workers. So I was there listening to him while they interacted. Yeah. But he will say more about that when he settles in. In fact, he's right here, so he's going to settle in and say more about that. But it was a wonderful experience, a very informative tour. And that is why on this program, we don't guess when we say things. We do research things. We do our on-the-spot assessment. Unlike other programs that speak from hearsay, on which persons speak from hearsay. And when they take our information, some of them, they try to belittle the seriousness and the accuracy of our program. And even sometimes some of those elements who do not do original investigation, they quote our source and not quote our source fully. and properly, and that is why sometimes we urge them to do so. But I just, yes, we had a wonderful visit yesterday at the Bukama Sandals facility, and it's just impressive, really, really impressive. Joel, morning.
Yeah, good morning, Cecil. Good
Yes.
morning, P. John. Good morning, Kieran. Good morning, listeners to WEFM
Mhm.
and to issues at hand. I join in as you speak about the visit to.
Well, continue, take over. That's why I stopped for you to take over.
Yeah, well, there are two dimensions to it. First of all, the visit to the plant, the project site, and also having a nice, interesting discussion with the some of the workers who happen to come from the Dominican Republic. I mean, there's a mix of Vincentians and Dominicans. I think there may be one or two Colombians there as well. But it was quite a very interesting visit there. And then we spoke with the persons who happened to ply their trade along the seashore at Bocamen. And a comment first on the structure. Well, it seems to me as if the Sandals is approaching it in a sort of somewhat phased basis, as the focus more than anything else is to complete initially the 5-story buildings. I think there are 4 units in all. And I did a count of the rooms. It seems to be around 156 on that side. But obviously there would be a good bit more. But they, as you said, they're quite impressive. And I think it is a very welcome addition to the tourism plant of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And then when you look at what appears to be the overall plan, it looks like an impressive facility, and I think that it can add a lot to the name of St. Vincent and the Grenadines when people are considering where to visit and spend a week or two of their precious vacation time. So it's impressive. And what was good too is that as we see things and we judge project the timelines by what we are accustomed to. So that if you want to build a house in St. Vincent, it's a typical 3-bedroom home on 2 levels. You may say that this is going to take 6 months, and it may stretch into 7 months or even 8 months. And so that's generally how it would be, even though that a contractor might say, man, this thing could be done in 4 months and so forth. But when you say that we are going to construct this massive thing in pretty much in 13 months or whatever the case might be, and they say that they're going to finish by November. I think I heard the Minister of Finance somewhere around November, and that they're actually aspiring to finish an important section of things by September of this year.
Yeah,
And when you hear the workers, and then you speak to the workers now, and I've had the privilege to speak with them in their language, and they basically indicating, well, they just happen. They're there and they're working 7 days a week. I thought it was 6, and they'll have time to enjoy maybe the Sunday. But they say they work 7, right? And I guess they're here for a purpose, and therefore, why tarry when they could make money for the extra day, and then they can return to their place of domicile in a shorter time period with more money in their pockets. And that is something that we may have to, in terms of Vincentian. I'm not advocating that Vincentian workers should work 7 days a week nonstop. But it just so happened that when we were leaving the compound, I heard someone, 2 Vincentians, discussing the same question about to whether or not they should be working for the same, that how they work so hard and so forth, and they're not getting sufficient compensation and so forth. So that's it. But I say, by and large, it's if they meet the deadline, then that is something that we should consider. Not just the fact that Sandals is putting up this facility, but what was involved, and we should be able to discuss with the contractors and so on what is involved in putting together the project as it the way it is structured, and whether or not it has implications at all for should Should we be structuring projects along the same line? How they have what is the division of labor among their people, and so what skill sets they require, and so forth, and what's involved generally. If we are working 5.5 days um, 5.5 days
A week?
a week
Yeah.
rather than 6 or 7. So then the other part has to do with in response to what was seen in the newspaper and so forth, and just general discussions with the folks on who ply their trade on the beach. And I didn't hear anyone say that they had a problem with the laying of the sand there. But say only one person said that they had a problem with the glare of the sunlight on them personally in terms of affecting their eyes. And I understand that to be the case of some persons, especially like if a Vincentian goes to Barbados and goes on the beach in Barbados, sometimes they have, or even walking in the road and the side of the road in Barbados, sometimes they may have that thing of the glare of the sun. But by and large, they had no issue with the laying of the sand on the beach. In fact, they thought that it would be beneficial. It would trigger more business for the area, for them personally, and so on. What they had some issues with had to do with the payment or
The relocation.
the
payment.
relocation,
Yeah.
that the government has agreed to thing, and that it is being paid in tranches. I think it's probably 3 tranches,
That's what they.
and they got maybe either 1 or 2, and they're saying, well, maybe went for the second, went for the third, and so forth. And then there was one other person say, well, why am I not included?
That's scabby man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
he said, well, why am I not included in terms of getting this? And I should be. And then, of course, sometimes persons will say, well, don't forget that I voted for such and so forth. But it shouldn't really have to come down to, and I am not saying at all that a decision as to whom to be compensated is based on the vote, right? Others may argue differently, but I'm saying I am approaching this by saying basically look at the situation, persons, how long they've been there, what they've been doing, what kind of structure. Is it a little mobile unit that they bring there for a couple of hours on a weekend, or is it that is their bread and butter, as in the case of 1 or 2 persons and so on, so that there's the kind of thing. So I would basically end there, and I just think that I think overall it's going to be an impressive facility as a whole, and I'm talking about the entire Bocaman Bay. I'm not just talking in terms of the Sandals project or the beaches project, but including persons like what Rudy Days, for example, has added. I don't know if you made mention of Rudy's
I
facility.
didn't. I was now that you've mentioned it. I just wanted to say, when you left, I stayed around a little bit and spoke with a gentleman right there at Rudy's, and he was actually telling me that part of the beach, well, the whole beach. In fact, he told me they started to spread the white sand on that part of the beach, and he said also that around Rudy's, that area would also be white sand.
Yes.
Yes. So yes.
Yeah, so I just can't finish on this
Yeah.
and basically saying that, again, to me, we have an opportunity now that on the leeward side, where visitors can go and nationals can go, and foreign direct investors can benefit, and local investors can also benefit, no matter the size of the investment.
Which is what we saw yesterday when we visited.
Yes, and of course, naturally, they still have some issues because, and I think the Prime Minister did mention last week about the road access.
Yes.
So that's beyond the Bocaman Polyclinic. That is problematic, and it is being addressed, as he indicated, in addition to the main road into the which the government had committed to into the
facility
into the Sandals facility.
By the way, I just want to say that we expect PM to call us not long from now, but we would want to raise a few things.
Yes.
Perhaps after we raise, he may want to
Yes.
to
Okay.
respond to all
All right.
of them.
So that's my view basically
Yeah.
on that Bookamenbe project, and I just wanted to indicate well that generally I think, yeah, we may criticize a lot of things in St. Vincent, and correctly so. If there are things to be criticized, by all means, I mean, with objectivity and so on, criticize. But you know, when I see the number from a tourism or touristic standpoint, what's happening there, and then I was in Annesville last evening, and I see even in the Annesville, we talk about Villa and Bookament, but like in the Annesville area, there are a number of things there that, and they're looking very impressive.
Rapid development. I just want to add, Pigeon, just before quickly, on the question of the sand, Jolly mentioned. You remember we drew attention to the fact that there was white sand is still there from the former Bookament facility.
Yes.
So it's not a question that Sandal is bringing in
New sand, yes.
New white sand. I mean, white sand is there already from about, I don't know, 10, 15 so years.
Yeah,
ago.
since like 2008, 2009.
Yes. Yes, Pigeon. Sorry.
About the working hours and the apparent attitude of our workers to that idea. Do you think we should be looking at revisiting our approach to those things?
First of all, I think that we need to look at the prevailing issues. There's some outstanding issues that we need to address, and it was raised by someone yesterday also at Bookament, which we can talk about. But I think, though, that it should be a case of persons wanting to volunteer to work the extra time beyond a certain figure. If you feel that it should be a 40-hour work week or a 44-hour, 42-hour work week or 44-hour work week, then so be it.
We should incentivize the additional hour.
Yeah, but so they should be by you pay time and a half or double time if it is a holiday Sunday, and sometimes that some unions would argue that if it's on a particular day like Good Friday or Christmas, then you pay triple time or something like that. If that can be done, sure. But I know that some other countries are arguing to go in the opposite direction. They want to go down to 36 hours. Even in France, they even arguing that it maybe should be even 32 hours. And so go down. And they also, as you can see with all the protests and so on, when you talk about retirement age now should be 64, going up from 62. That's a major issue and so forth. But I don't have a problem with the working hours as they are right now, not necessarily moving them in one direction or another, but there has to be some agreement with the workers where it is for extra hours, that is something where they are compensated and based on their willingness to work beyond that. You can't look at labor productivity in so many different ways and see how you can get, because you can say for an 8-hour workday that I expect to get so much out of the effort, out of my X number of workers. That is something that to be looked at. But there's one prevailing thing that I just wanted to add quickly in response to the question, Pijan, has to do with this thing and the change in the wages act in terms of minimum wage, and it has to do with what the compensation for different categories of workers during their lunch hour, right?
Gentlemen, I see a call coming in. It could be the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Trying to get
Okay.
in.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But there are other issues which we had discussed, if you remember, in our meeting, and those issues we can raise when we interact with the Prime Minister.
Yes. Okay.
So next time I see the call appearing, I will take the call, and hopefully it will be the Prime Minister, so we can introduce him as part of the conversation, and then we could raise those issues with him.
Okay. Sure.
Pigeon, was there anything in the meantime? Okay, I think the call is now again. So let's take the call. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you.
Yes, I've been listening very keenly to the issue at hand this morning, which is and I've been here in Bookman Bay
Well, who's calling?
quite often.
Who's calling?
Minister Orlando Booster.
Oh, you see. Oh, sorry. We didn't. We are expecting.
I know.
No, we are
I know
expecting
you're
a
waiting for
call.
Prime Minister, so I won't be long.
No, it's all right. It's just that we didn't recognize the voice, so that's why we asked.
Yes.
We are glad you identify yourself. Yes, Minister Brewster, greetings. I was in your, well, Joel and I were in your area of the woods. Not the woods, of the city, I should say, not the woods. City. Are you there? The connection is not the best. He might call back. I'm sure he's going to call back.
Yes, but I'm glad that he is called though, because his name was
mentioned
a few times,
Yeah.
and I think that is all relevant because I think that he, in his capacity as minister and also maybe parliamentary rep, has a hand in it.
Yes, there's a call coming. It could be him. Good morning.
Yes, sorry, I guess we got disconnected there a little bit.
Yes, good to hear you again.
Yes.
So I was saying, Joel and I
it's
were in your city, part of the city yesterday, and we were very impressed. We were very impressed.
Yes, yes.
And your name came up a few times in an impressive sense, in a sense of being impressed. So go ahead.
Except for one person.
Yes, well, I just want to make a quick contribution to the issue at hand this morning, which is Bookman Bay. And I'm glad that it is getting some focus, which is well needed as we move forward with the development of our tourism product. And I know you gentlemen would know that Bookman has long been known for just a treasury area. But now Bookman is becoming a coveted land space where persons are asking and pleading and begging to see how they could get a piece of land or any property in Bookman Bay. And the beachfront, as you would know, that we are doing some enhancement of the Bookman Bay beachfront. Excellent project. Part government with partnership with Sandals Resort. And the hotel is coming on very nicely, and it's moving very rapidly. And I've been reading keenly an article highlighted in the newspaper there, but I think they got the story totally wrong. I think it's a story that they're trying to cause some mischief in Bookman Bay. And you know, the persons, the residents of Bookman Bay, they are happy for such a magnificent project happening on the bayfront. And we are not doing this thing in a haphazard manner. There's a total plan for the area, beach enhancement that would incorporate washroom facilities, vending stalls, because, you know, we have some vendors who occupy the beach area, and they're doing well in terms of getting their product to the tourists and so on. But we have to make sure that we have proper facilities, because the washroom facility is needed in the area, because Bookman Beach is a hot spot now in the country as it relates to tourism. And we have to make sure that we put all the proper things in place. When there is a tourist ship in the harbor here in St. Vincent in Kingstown, a cruise ship, a lot of the tourists, they would go see their sites and so on, but at the end of the day, they unwind and they cool down, most of them in Bookman Bay. And even the tour buses and so on, it's a hazard for them. You know, the parking is not regularized or anything. And we are putting together right there at the bayfront a 27 space parking lot, which has you know, accommodation also for the large 24-seater buses. So we are not just doing anything that we feel, but there's a master plan. It's something that we have thought about. And I heard him mention also about the compensation issue. Well, it's not an issue because the compensation has been paid. It was done through the Ministry of National Mobilization. We did the social inquiry. We spoke to all the fisher folks, all those who are involved, whose livelihood would be affected on the bay side, because we have to sand the bayfront, and in order to do so, we are going to affect them in some way or the other. So we have to make sure that while they are dislocated for a temporary time, that we put all the necessary measures in place so that they can continue with their lives and livelihood. We can't just go in and say we are doing this and not take into consideration the lives and livelihood. So we have been doing our work steadfastly. I also want to touch quickly on the employment at Sandals itself. We have over 300 Vincentians employed at Sandals itself. It's a mixture of local and some of the technical persons from overseas. And they have been moving. There have been one or two issues with workers. I've went in there as the parliamentary representative for Central Leeward, and I've spoken to some of the guys in charge, the managers and so on, making them aware of some of the issues raised by the workers in Bokomen. So we have been doing our work, and at every point you've noticed that I've been going there quite a lot, just to make sure that the folks are updated in terms of the progress of what is happening there in Bokomen Bay. And at every point, let me emphasize, we have been in consultation with the residents of Bokomen Bay. And we don't take our work very lightly. And this would not only involve the stakeholders from the resort, but they have pledged that they are going to help the residents of Bokomen to develop a tourism product on the village side. And this is part of developing our country and developing Central Leeward and Bokomen to an extent. So we can't sit back and take and let a few persons, derail all of the developments that are happening there in Bokomen Bay. And at every point, I've been in contact with the folks in Bokomen. I've been on the bay side. Rudy is doing an excellent building there as well. So it is coming together very nicely. And I am hopeful, I'm optimistic that by next year, Bokomen would be a total vibe, as some would put it, in terms as it relates to a tourism attraction area, and also, help to lift the lives of the folks living there in Bokomen Bay. So I'm happy that this morning that this was raised. I don't know if there are any questions that you guys may have.
Well, I'm sure.
Yes.
Pertaining to this.
I have two questions. P. John, you have questions as well.
Let me go first. Mine is a bit on the lighter side.
Yes.
What implication for the Chichi farmers?
For the Chichi folks.
Yes.
Well, we did the survey. We are not touching the river per se. And you see, a lot of folks, they are not aware of the scope of works that is happening there. Pigeon, you would know that the river, sometimes when it comes down heavy, it would wash out the entire bayfront. So we are putting in a small river defense at the end of the river there, so that we are protecting the river as well. We are not going over into the river with the sanding, and we are also protecting the beach from further erosion whenever the rain comes. Once it rains in the Vermont Valley, you're in for some challenges downstream. So we are not specifically focusing on the river, the sanding, and it would not be. They are not going to sand in the water itself. It is mainly on the bay. So it would not have any major effect on the Chichi folks there.
Okay. I have three quick questions. One has to do with the effluence from the village itself, that some persons mentioned about that the grey water will be coming down before you enter where Bay Stones is now, and so on. And that will come where it's likely to be, the sand is likely to be placed. And whether or not any work is going to be done there to control that grey water coming down from the village. That's one. The second question has to do with one person who said that she was told that she was to be paid in tranches, and she got either one or two sets, and she still awaits a third and final sum of money. And then the third question has to do with not just the Bookman Bay. What about on the main road? I was discussing with some folks the development of Pembroke Bookman itself into a veritable commercial community.
Yes. All right. So let me first deal with the grey water. Before I left last week, because I had to go out to Argentina for a meeting with housing, I had a consultation with the CEO of Braxel, as well as the manager who is managing the project down there at Sanders. We have identified that area as an area that we would have to have a proper drainage system. So the Braxel and Sanders, they're working together to come up with a suitable solution for that area but the runoff there is not a major runoff in terms of grey water, I must say. Because
in fact, Minister, when we went there, it was dry. Yesterday,
yes.
So
Occasionally you would have grey water coming there because there's a drain further upstream that channels the water not in that direction. So it's only one or two buildings on that side. So it's from time to time you would go there and it would be dry. Other times you would go there and it would have a little bit of water in the drain there. So Sanders and Braxel, they're coming up. They're designing a system, a soak-away system. Some would commonly refer to it as a soak-away system that would take care of that water, because we have identified that area that it could be a problem in the near future, and we have to come up with the most feasible, I could say, solution to that. So we have that area covered in terms of the grey water, and added to that, the water that I heard some persons talking about, the water from the resort. But Sanders, they have pledged that they are going to put in a proper wastewater system, management system, whereby they would harvest all of the wastewater coming from their resort and repurpose it. So we don't have a problem with runoff from the hotel into the river nearby, and we are going to take care of that bit of grey water that we see there before we enter Bistone by implementing a proper soak-away system where the water would not get into the beach, the seawater, as I would say. The second question you had was about
the lady with the
payment.
Yes.
Yes. So we had earmarked a 3-month period for compensation for those who would be affected by the sanding of the bayfront there. What happened? Most of them received a 2-in-1 payment because it was supposed to start in February. However, we were late on the payment for February, so they got a payment for February and March at the beginning of March. There were 1 or 2 persons who were late in terms of their registration to bring forward all their documents and so on, prove that they have ownership of boats and so on and so forth. And they were late, so some of the payments lagged behind, and they were compensated. I think some of them received their payment this week, last week, I should say. So, but we made a provision because the estimated time for the sanding of the beach, we were looking at 6 weeks, starting at the beginning of February. But due to the hiccups and so on, we did not start on time. But we had provision for a buffer in case we go over into April, which we are into April, and we would have to make another payment just to make sure that we take care of the folks there who are affected. So some of the payment they received a 2-in-1 because it didn't start on time in February. So if they say they receive one payment, that means most of them may have received 2 months payment in one.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but there is a provision in place that they would have another payment for this month of April, and we would work that out as soon as we can and make sure that they get that payment sorted.
Okay.
My question, Minister, is to do with the playing field in the central area of that area of Bukoman behind the school. Is it
Yes.
is any work being done on it, and how do the residents get access to that playing field?
Mhm. Well, the playing field, we have done a bit of work. There's a groundsman there every day that is working, and I have in the pipeline plan something joint between the government and Sandals to see what we can do, because I don't think in the current resort there is a playing field for say. At the new developing Sandals resort there. So I have in the pipeline to work with them, because Sandals has shown keen interest in working with the village, the village of Bukoman Bay. And I must say that they have been out front with it. They haven't, they haven't shied away or doing things in the background, but they have. And you see, you should come down there and see what is happening. There's a good relationship between the villagers and the workers at Sandals and so on. And they have a lot of plans in the pipeline, and we just have to make sure that we work. We set up a committee. As a matter of fact, I'm in the process of doing a Bukoman Bay development committee down there, because we don't want this thing to get out of hand. As we see the development of Bukoman Bay. So, and that committee would be vital in making sure that they sit down in consultations and so on as we move forward with further development. And the playing field is one that is big on the agenda, and Pigeon know that I am a sportsman at heart. I love my sports. Even Pigeon used to challenge me when we worked together at Barry Secondary School in the 100 meter, or the 60 meter.
I wouldn't ask who won.
This pigeon right there.
I know.
Think about it. Everybody remember Mr. Pigeon, but don't remember anybody
place
else.
there for the development of that playing field.
Did you hear his?
Road,
Yes. Go ahead.
it has come on the radar. We have to do some work there in fixing that road leading to the playing field as well. And that is one of the roads highlighted for rehab. I don't know if we would get to it this year. I would love for it to be done this year, but I'm keeping hope alive on that one. But more important, the road coming off of the polyclinic and going into the garden area, as you call it, in Bukoman Bay. That is vital, because if we are going to develop the beachfront there, we must have the access. So I want, very soon that we should see some movement on that road in that area. And we have to reroute. I don't know if you're aware of it, the traffic, because we would see a high amount of activities there. So we have to reroute the traffic, making that area into a one-way. So one way in, one way out. And we had the traffic department as well in the meetings that we had in terms of the developmental plan for Bukoman. So we're going to see some there's a slight variation there in terms of the traffic situation in Bukoman. I don't know if there are any questions.
The question I had asked in relation to the commercial development of Pembroke Bukoman.
Oh yes, of the stretch.
The stretch. Say from A Street down to the gas station.
Absolutely. And we have been getting a lot of interest in persons wanting to set up more businesses along that stretch. And my vision as the representative for Central Leeward is to have that area from A Street leading down all the way down to Marty to an extent, to have that place commercialized, because now it's such a blessing that we have the supermarket there, a hardware there. There's need for a pharmacy and other, other stores and so on. And we would work with whoever is willing to work with us on the government end in making sure that Pembroke become, and that area is one of the faster developing areas, Pigeon and Cecil. It's one of the faster developing areas, and we have to put all the amenities in place so that folks are comfortable. I don't want you have to get up and head to Kingston for everything. I want to see the build out of Pembroke where we have banking facilities and so on and so forth there.
And you have a polyclinic.
And the polyclinic. So there are a lot of things happening, and I must say, oh boy, that polyclinic has been doing wonders in the area. And it's such an important part of the infrastructural development in Central Leeward. And we are seeing now you can go run over there and get your X-rays. You can do so many things there now. And I have always seen St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the near future as a decentralized country and not everything happening in capital. But you should be able to get up and 5 minutes away, you could access all the different amenities. So, and that is a vision that us, the youngsters now, in government, we have to see it. And if you've been paying close attention to my ministry, you would know that my ministry now has a decentralized approach in the way that we deliver services to the folks of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I am looking forward. I am very happy with what is happening in Central Leeward, in Barley, the Blackfish Plant.
Minister Brewster, quickly, while we are on the issue of tourism, any developments you can share with us regarding Peter's Hope and the proposed Marriott in Monkville?
Yes, well, in Peter's Hope, the developers there had asked for a little bit more time to get Black Sands to where they want it and where we are looking for it to go. And we are keeping a very close eye on that. I've passed by there. They've started back a bit of work there at Peter's Hope. And I'm always observing that area to make sure that there are movements happening there. And if I don't see any movement, then I would raise that in cabinet as to what is happening, what is happening to development of Black Sands, and from there we would engage them and find out exactly what is happening. In Mountain Marriott, we're supposed to start some preliminary work, I think in July of this year, June, July of this year. We had to relook the plan for the hotel itself, and we are still in that stage because of the increase in cost in materials and so on. It has ballooned the figure so much that now we have to probably look at just a slight variation in some of the designs so that we can have the Mountain Marriott completed in the very near future. And not forgetting also on tourism, Pigeon, by the end of this month, I want to have a consultation with the folks in Layu on the Jackson Bay project. Excellent project. We're going to see a development there added to the waterfront going north. So we want to make sure that at the end of that, you have the best of both worlds. And I would tell you this, I came in on a flight there on Thursday, and I was having a conversation with the air hostess, asking her if she's ever spent time in St. Vincent, other than just hopping in and hopping out. And she said, it has always been an interest for me to come and see what it's like. And she started questioning she said she's one who's big on beaches. And so I asked her, have you ever experienced a black sand beach? And she said, no, I've never experienced that. Most of the beaches, it's white sand beach that I've visited. And I said, well, I use the opportunity to sell my constituency. Well, I said,
Naturally.
In the near future, we would have, within 5 minutes away, you can experience the best of both worlds. You can experience white sand in Bokument Bay, and then you can just hop over to Jackson Bay and you can experience black sand there. And so she said, well, that's something I would be, very interested in, and I would love to come and see what it's like. So we are seeing so many projects and developments happening, in the area of tourism. And, I know that the Western Corridor is ripe for development. The Western Corridor of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is ripe for development. And we have to work in developing an island-wide tourism product, not only a Grenadines tourism product, not only the Eastern Coast, where we have a lot of the restaurants and apartments and so on. And it's a perfect opportunity now for persons to invest in apartments, Airbnb, and the likes, because you have to grab a piece of the pie as it is now.
Minister,
so I am very happy, Pigeon, Cecil, and everyone. I'm very happy about it. It's something that excites me when I talk about the development happening on the western side of the country. And Pigeon, I don't know if you know this, but that View Falls all the way up north is one of the most visited sites in St. Vincent thus far for the year 2023. As that we are seeing a lot of foot traffic, and we have to make sure that on the way to that view, we have all the necessary in place so that the tourists could come out. Even on my waterfront here in Layu, I don't know if you follow social media from time to time, the tourists, they would stop there and take their photos, have a little breather. And that is why I want to develop Jackson Bay so that we could put the restroom facilities and so on in place. So even though they have to make a rest stop, those sort of things are in place so that they can be comfortable.
I don't know if Cecil and I don't know if Cecil and Joel know that the beachfront in Layu has become an attraction in and of itself.
Well, it attracts me.
Definitely.
So
the Layu waterfront.
The Layu waterfront.
The Layu waterfront.
The two buses don't pass straight at all.
Okay.
No. Absolutely. You're quite correct there, Pigeon. I've seen a lot of videos, and even sometimes I'm heading to work and the tourist bus, they're parked there, right on the waterfront. The folks come out, they enjoy a little drink, a little, refreshment and so on and so forth. And we have to develop this because they are showing us that, listen, this area is an area of interest, and it's now time for us to say, okay, well, we are going to develop it so that you can even come back more and more times to visit us here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Just to indicate,
so, gentlemen, I don't know if you have anything further.
Yes, don't go yet.
No, just a comment to indicate. First of all, I was at Layu getting physiotherapy just about 3 days ago. So, and I'm not promoting the business of any individual.
Mention the business. Mention the business. I want to hear it.
Yeah, well, okay, you have said it, but I'm just saying that people. Well, I met Beckett on the way there, and Beckett said, "Oh boy, I don't know people like you coming down to lay for this thing. I'm on. That's great stuff." And so I say, "Yes, absolutely. And then when I'm finished, I go out on the beach and I look and see what's happening and so on. But I just wanted to indicate more than that is that I perhaps in my capacity as managing director of Korea's and Korean company. Have been instrumental in the development of the cruise tourism and with the leeward trips and so on, going down that Aqua Tour, going down as far as to Richmond and so on, and the stop points and so on, with an understanding that there would be a rest stop facility available every 30 minutes or so. That is something that I perhaps, along with others at Korea's, have been instrumental in developing over the last 20 years. I just wanted to throw that in for whatever it is worth.
Minister, you had started to give us an update on the Blackfish project, but you didn't quite get to the end of it.
Well, the Blackfish project, let me just, that is moving very quickly, and Sea Operation, I think, is the contracting company there. They've been doing excellent work, tremendous work. We have a lot of locals. Most of the employees there are from the area of Barley is a local foreman who was on site there. And, that has been a project that has been on the books for quite a number of years. And I'm happy that, under my tenure, currently that we are seeing the fruits being brought forward in terms of the development of the Barry Blackfish plant. And we also are looking at the area down there in Butland Glass, because if we're going to have such an excellent facility there, the aesthetics around the area must be pleasing as well. So we are looking at a plan now. The road network leading to the plant. We have to look at that and get that sorted in a proper manner. We have to look at how we can incorporate, do some fencing around the area there. There's some private properties. I would have to talk to some of the owners to see how we can work together to develop that area in Butland Glass. And also not very far away from Butland Glass, at Pigeon, the old Barley Secondary School, that is being transformed to an emergency shelter and warehouse, one of the biggest in the country actually. And that is ongoing. That is going to be, I think the estimated finish for that project would be in the middle of this year, so around June, July. And that work also is on track. And there are two massive and two very important projects happening: the Barley Blackfish Plant and the Nemo Satellite Warehouse and storage facility. So Barley is seeing a lot of development, and I'm the only constituency that boasts very proudly about having two towns, and I want to make sure at the end of the day that I develop those two towns, under my tenure as the representative for Central Leeward.
Minister,
and we are doing other works. Mm-hmm.
There's a question from somebody online saying, are there any future plans to link the Gulf Coast with Sandals Beaches Resort? I don't know what the head of the Gulf Coast.
Okay, well, yes. They're referring to the development happening at the old casino
Emerald
up in Emerald Valley, the old Emerald Valley Casino.
Yeah, Emerald Valley.
That is under construction now. But I am sure that there would be some sort of joint between the owners for developing that now and Sandals. But Pigeon, it is very critical for us to make sure that we capitalize on the tourism product in South Leeward as well. Because just away from Sandals, you would have the Vermont Nature Trail. You would have the Table Rock River there as well. And we have to know, because Sandals is not a company that would put on their own tourism. They want to work with persons in the area to develop what they're offering to their visitors there to the resort. So I am envisioning, even, those little three-wheel mopeds, because sometimes they want to feel the fresh air, in their face when they come to visit, not being in a hotel room all the time. But if we could do something that we could have the young people develop a nice brand where they could have these tripods or mopeds, whatever you call them, to give them a short tour up into Nature Trail, and you have
that
them waiting there for you when they come out.
From the Sandals
and
Resort,
that would be
from the Sandals Resort up into the Nature Trail. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, up into the Nature Trail, back down to Table Rock where they can cool off. So you can package that as a product that can be offered to the visitors there at Sandals. So there are plans, and we just need for persons to come on board. Have the right mindset, have the right thinking. Look at the avenues, the areas where there are opportunities that you can develop. And this government, we are a government that would work with anyone who's willing to help to develop our tourism product.
Minister,
we don't want it to be government centered.
Joel has a question, then I have a follow-up.
Yes. Yeah, have you ever been up to Acres Mountain, Dennis Ambrose and Company?
I'm glad you mentioned that.
It's a fantastic view, and it's important.
Fantastic view. Joel, you and I probably have an eye for tourism, because I was thinking about incorporating that, because visitors want to see in the backdrop where they stayed. And you could market that thing excellently, where you can have a trip up to Acres where they could have in the background. You have your photos taken there. I've stayed at Sanders, and Sanders can market these things, and folks would be their interest would be piqued as to where is this area. How can I get to And that within itself could be a tour right in the area. And persons would be more than willing to take up this opportunity to go on a tour that you can see acres, Table Rock and Nature Trail. You know, even in Layu, you have the Layu Picture Cliff. So you just have to have a comprehensive package where folks would say, well, you know, this is what we're offering. This is what we're offering. You can see here today. You can see there tomorrow, and you build this thing out nicely.
And you're talking about, Minister, the people, the residents of Layu and Bukuma and Bukumen. Those are the areas. Those are the persons who would want to invest in these things. The tour.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I would love for the local, you know, the persons who are from Bukumen, Layu, you know, your Barley, the surrounding areas there in South Layu, to come on board.
Yes.
Use this opportunity. With the development of the beach, you're going to need beach chairs, umbrellas, and so on and so forth. You know, you see the vision, see the opportunities, and you capitalize on them. It's as simple as that.
Minister, we'd have to get you in our studio one of these days. There's so many more questions.
You have to get me in studio.
Yes.
Definitely.
One quick question from me. We have, I think, it's two police stations in the constituency. Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vermont is South Leeward.
Yeah.
But in close
Vermont
proximity.
is South Leeward, but that is probably closer. Yes, that is probably closer.
Both of them are now in rented facilities. What are the plans going forward?
Vermont is in its own.
Okay.
Layu is still in the Layu police station, but Barley is being rented. And I'm glad you raised that. The thing that is happening in Barley, you know, Barley's police station, it's an old station. It's one of the older stations in the country. And at the time when it was constructed, they didn't cater for what we are witnessing now, climate change. And what is happening in the station in Barley is that the groundwater from the coastal area, because the sewer system is in the back of the building, it has infiltrated the sewer system, and you know, we have to take a keen look at relocating the Barley station, because there are things happening not to the naked eyes, but underneath the station itself, that we have to pay close attention to. And I don't want to put the police back in any facility that is dangerous to their health and also, you know, in terms of the flow collapsing and so on and so forth. So we have to come up with a proper solution to the Barley police station situation. We would have to have the engineers and the other stakeholders involved to make sure that we find a suitable area where we can put the Barley police station, because this thing called climate change is, you know, as much as some people are not paying attention to it, it is causing a serious impact on our coastlines here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and other even infrastructure and so on, that we've seen a lot of erosion and so forth. That beach in Barley, it's not as big as it used to be, just behind the station area there as well. And that is you know, but the Layu police station, Pijan, you mentioned that we are looking to do some significant upgrades there. Braxa has done an assessment of the Layu police station. As a matter of fact, all the police stations in the country, and they are presented to cabinet a comprehensive document with the scope of works. So we have the development of those stations coming on board pretty soon. So and Vermont as well. So all of the stations, they did an assessment on them, and they have identified the scope of works that needs to be done there, and need to be done there. So we are going to work with Braxa to see how best we can have those stations around the areas, but also in the area with the development of Bukumen Bay, we have to look at security, and we raised that in cabinet because, you know, tourists and so on are going to be there. We don't want that thing to get out of hand. So we have to look at proper security, whether it's the police or the private security firms, to make sure that there is some decency and order in the area of Document Bay as it relates to the development of that area.
Minister, my final question. As I was leaving the Bookman, driving back down to Kingston, I had a challenge with the traffic. It was so heavy. Is there any consideration about the traffic? Because when that Sandal facility opens up, it means even taxis would be frequenting the area from the airport and from elsewhere. So it occurred to me then, how are we going to deal with the challenge of the traffic?
Well, that has been highlighted by myself and other members of cabinet as to the traffic situation. Not only is it problematic on my end, especially on the main, we find a lot of persons are using the main road as their parking area, and it is a very dangerous thing to do, because one accident, and it could be really a whole afternoon, a whole evening, and set you back quite somewhat. So we have to work with the traffic branch, especially, and that is why I included them in the development of Document Bay, because I don't want for that area, especially coming out of the bayfront down there, to become a traffic jam.
Yes.
So that is why we have to further push and implement the one-way traffic and no parking on the main, and that's the reason why we put in a parking area as well. That once you go into the bayfront, park your vehicle properly. Put it in the parking lot. But there is a need now for us to address some of the parking that is happening on the main road. It's becoming an inconvenience to both commuters and drivers as it relates to the flow of traffic from whatever point in the country coming from into capital Kingston. So it is on the table for sure. It has been highlighted, and we just have to make sure that we put the necessary in place that we can alleviate that situation and make the flow of traffic somewhat not so hectic as you do your daily commute.
Yes. So, Minister, we want to thank you. But before you go,
quickly.
Oh, Pigeon has a
Yes.
question,
Yes,
and I have an observation.
I know you've been making some attempt to secure a gym for the Central Road, to be based at the Central Road Secondary School, not necessarily for the school, but to be based at the school. Any progress in that?
Yes. Pigeon, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I must commend the Central Leeward Secondary School. They have been doing tremendously well in the area of sports. And Pigeon, Central Leeward had secondary, also known as Barley Secondary, because I don't want to offend anyone. Barley Secondary, aka Central Leeward Secondary, has been a bastion in sports. Going as far back as when my aunt and uncle, attended that institution, they were Barley and Lee has natural and raw talent as it relates to sport. It just needs to be harnessed and in a certain manner. And the gym is it is a necessity. It is not a want in Central Leeward. It is a need for the development. And I don't want it to become my thing. I want it to be for the development of not only Central Leeward, but secondary school. But if there are other schools in the area and we would build out further as we go. But with the designs, we are still in the design phase. The designs were handed to Braxa for them to come up with a design for that gym. I was out quite a while. I haven't checked back in, but now you mention it, I would have to have a meeting with the gentleman who's working on the design for Central Leeward. And it is not an unreasonable ask from the Central Leeward Secondary School, because it would develop their curriculum and their programs being offered there as it relates to physical education and so on. So I am going to keep my foot on the pedal with that facility, and I'm going to make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, that it is delivered to essentially what secondary school, and so that they can continue their upward mobility in the area of sport
permit me to just
in the country.
permit me to emphasize the fact that it is not just for Central Leeward Secondary School, but for the community
No.
as a whole. But
For the community, absolutely.
Well,
So
Minister,
gentlemen,
things are-
sorry,
things are
I was
wrapping.
talking to you all the way from Liu. I am
Oh.
now at Argyle International. I have
What?
some family members leaving today, heading back up to one is going back to the States and two going to Barbados.
well, this
So
is amazing.
it was a pleasure for me as well to call in and make sure that I update the public of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as to where we are
Yes.
and different aspects of what is happening in the government. And you guys continue to do the good work that you're doing there, bringing pertinent and useful information to the general public. You know, it is important.
give
for
our
us
listeners
to
your
highlight
name
what
and
you're doing.
portfolio, please, so that they will remember your name and portfolio.
My name is Orlando Brewster. The portfolio is the minister with the responsibility for national mobilization, social protection, social development, family, gender, persons with disability, youth, housing, informal human settlement. And I think I may miss one or two in between, but you have to forgive me. It's a massive portfolio, but it's overlapping, and I love the ministry that I'm in. You know, it's a ministry that cares for the poor, the vulnerable, the marginalized, and nothing warms my heart more than helping where I can and helping those who are in need. And I'm just praying that the good Lord will continue to give me health and strength so that I can get up daily and put my best foot forward as I serve the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
But quickly,
Minister-
quickly. The Poliad situation, have you given any thought? Could you briefly tell us what?
The Poliad situation, well, I haven't been updated yet as to any further development in the Poliad area. But I know we have plans in place for the relocation of those folks in Poliad as it relates to housing. But it is a joint between, you know, Transport and Works, who land and physical planning, who has the lands, and my ministry, which has the portfolio of housing under it. So we have to first work out the land issue, and then you know this government, John. When we do something and we move persons, we don't demote them, but we promote them and uplift them as it relates to housing and their social situation. You know, so it is a joint, but I haven't received any further updates yet because I was out for the past month or so. I've only been in Ireland for probably a few days, and tomorrow again I head to Antigua for a ministerial meeting of OECS for social development, and I'll be back on Wednesday. So it is a crucial meeting as the ministers across the Caribbean look at further plans in expanding our social programs and how best we can share common practices in different islands where we can help each other to develop how we offer our services and so on here in the Eastern Caribbean. So I'll be out for about 3 days roughly. I leave on Monday. I'll be back on Wednesday. But it's an important meeting. I have two of the persons within the ministry as well. The director of social protection, she would be going over there, as well as Philbert, because there's a technical meeting as well happening between the islands. So that is an important meeting that I have to attend, and I would make sure that I update the folks when we return back to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
All right, Minister, I just want to say thank you very much. This has been a very good discussion, but we expect you to come in the studio with us because we have a lot more questions for you.
Yes.
And you're so familiar with the issues, so you're encouraged, very encouraged by that. You're totally knowledgeable on every aspect of, and especially your constituency. As you said, it's a massive one, but you have a massive approach in dealing with it. And we thank you very much, and we want to wish you all the best. So sometime
All
we
right.
can
Thank you,
expect.
guys, and God bless.
Yes, and we want
Yes.
we just want to indicate that sometime we will be touching base so we can concretize
Yes.
your being in studio.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely. I have
Minister.
no problem with that. So
All the
thanks
best.
again. Thanks for having me.
Right. All the best to you.
All right.
All right. So we have a call, another call. Could be the Prime Minister. So let's take it. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. It's
The
Ralph.
Prime Minister.
Good morning, Cecil and Pijan and Joel and all our listeners at home and abroad.
Yeah, good morning to you.
I suspect that many of the questions which Orlando answered so beautifully and so comprehensively, there are only bits and pieces on them. I may be able to put some additions. And you may have other questions. Now, if I may just make a comment, Cecil, that you, when you were winding up with Orlando, you expressed how happy you were that he was in such command of the issues.
Yes, yes.
In his constituency and also the other relevant national issues. What happens is this: the way the government functions, it functions in a coordinated manner. And all of these issues which come up, we discuss them at cabinet on an ongoing basis. And we have documentation before us. In addition to the cabinet meetings, we have the cabinet committee on the economy. We have specialized subcommittees, one kind or another, dealing with these matters, and all the ministers whose portfolios touch and concern the subject matters, they're engaged in the discussion. That's why I always laugh when I hear people try to present the government as one or two persons or three persons. It's a government which is very integrated in the way it does its work on a multi-ministerial level, interministerial level. So I just want to make that point, because and you see that demonstrated. If you're to ask anybody at all in the cabinet those questions which you are asking of Orlando, they'd be able to answer you competently. I assure you of that. They may not know like Orlando would know the precise area where the grey water is coming from, and when it's dry most of the time, and when it has some, you understand what I mean,
Yes.
Pijan? But they would be familiar with the issues. Now, if I begin with Bukament, the Bukament project on the village side, we have had, contrary to what you hear some people talking about, we have had extensive discussions with the people in the area and the relevant stakeholders. Apart from Orlando being involved in consultations and also involved with Camilo with those consultations, and I think on one occasion with Saboto also being present, I held 3 consultations at the cabinet room with all the relevant stakeholders, each consultation lasting no less than 4 hours. And at those consultations, I had the fisher folk, we had people from the community leaders, we had all the other players down there, including Sandals and Rudy from Garden Yard, Rudy Days. We had all the relevant state officials in those consultations, and we worked through systematically all of the problems, all of the challenges. So what you see panning out there is not something which is accidental. It has been done in a proper, coordinated, and scientific way. And I mean, this is a free and democratic country. People may speak what they want and write what they want. That's fine. And there are a lot of falsehoods being written, and there are some people who instinctively are against progress. But everything which is happening on the village side, I can assure you, has support fully by all the stakeholders on that side, including the grounds which have been put in, the white sand to be deployed, the shops to be constructed, protection for the tree, the river defense, everything. We purchased lands because lands were owned by particular individuals over there. Some of the Ponets and there's another parcel which is owned by two professionals, and we're giving them land, similar value land out at Diamond in exchange. So everything which is done there it has been done in conjunction with the people. And I'll tell you this, there are fishermen who are engaged in fishing, but who want to diversify their business and go also continue to do fishing, but also do water sports.
This is fine. This is fine.
Completely in order. Some of them have families who are involved in trading, and the way our small business people do things, sometimes they may specialize, they see opportunities and they diversify. And I want to say this, Sandals from the very beginning said, look, we know that there's a fishing village next door. That fishing village, if that fishing village develops, they will be able to feed off of Sandals. And the village will also be able to offer a product which will complement or supplement what Sandals is doing to make Sandals' own product even more attractive. I remember they saying very early, they said, look, in St. Lucia, where we have our Sandals, we had to bus people to go to a fish night at in St. Lucia at Grosile. You say here in Bucament, they just have to walk over the bridge. You see, I mean, Bijan.
Yeah.
So I just want to assure everybody, I see a lot of uninformed noises. I read about some of them. They just are so far off the mark, and we are doing our work in conjunction with the people down in Bucament. So I just want to make that point. Also want to say that, did you guys get to go over on the Sandal side?
Yes, we had a full tour, Prime Minister.
You had a full tour, okay, because I joined you slightly late.
Yeah, we had a guided
this
tour
morning.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Very
went.
good.
We spoke with the work as well. We spoke in English and we spoke in Spanish.
Fantastic. And you will notice the relations between the workers, those from the Dominican Republic and Colombia, with the Vincentian workers, the relationship is very good.
Yes.
And the relationship between them and the village is also very good.
Well, we heard a lot of Spanish music.
On the beach. Yes.
Well,
It reminds me of a Sparrow song, an old Sparrow song. You know?
The interaction is pretty good.
Yes.
And I'm sure that the Sandals people would have told you that in addition to the 303 rooms which they're doing there, and you see the fantastic facilities which they're putting down, they have enough space, as distinct from other places, other Sandals. They have a lot in the Eastern Caribbean. They have a lot of space to put additional rooms. And I'm sure they would have told you about possible plans for further expansion beyond the scope of this particular project of 303 rooms.
Well, we didn't interact with the Sandals people, really.
Okay,
But we made the observation in terms of the space behind.
Yes.
And we were talking about that, Joel and I. We made that observation.
Okay. Yes. So they no. It is to be noted that despite the fact that Dave Ames had managed his project badly, that base is the one upon which Sanders built
Yes, that's true.
in relation to the land now.
We noticed that as well.
And yeah, some of the cottages would remain. They just be gutted and
They
remodeled.
got it and they yes, and they modernizing them and so
Yeah,
on and so
yes,
forth.
yeah.
So I think that's important to in this particular mix. Now, I don't know. You saw Rudy building the shops.
Yes.
No, well, no.
Okay.
In terms of the shops,
There's some
no.
trouble
Well, we
there.
saw where they started the foundation, but they haven't
Okay,
yet
where they started the foundation.
Are you talking about Rudy's project?
No.
Oh, the shops for the workers.
Rudy has the contract also to build the shops, which are beautifully designed. The booths.
Oh,
the
Yes,
booths.
yeah, no.
yes,
They started the foundation and the
Yes.
area for the
Yes.
parking as well.
They'll finish about 3 weeks time, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
for our good friend Joel.
Yes,
We interacted with one of the
yes.
prospective
I don't know if
owners.
she would want us to call her
No,
name,
we
but
won't.
she has an existing building on the show.
Yes.
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 So she's excited about going over. She has some little
And they're
concerns.
beautifully designed shops.
Yeah.
They're beautifully designed shops.
She mentioned that
No.
she would want hers customized to her own taste.
Well, I think everybody would probably want theirs customized. I think there'd be commonalities, and I'm sure there'd be variations.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Yes. So, as you notice, the mood down there is very positive, and you would see that the holistic nature of how we are proceeding. You notice we have a well-equipped polyclinic, and we'll make sure that it's kept in good condition and good equipment and so on, including the X-ray facilities down there and a pharmaceutical outlet, a state pharmaceutical outlet, in addition to all the other services which are offered, the nursing and medical services. So I think and then of course there's a big police station at Kittels, which is just a few minutes away, and there is a station up in Vermont, and the idea too is to put a police post where if people want to make complaints now,
Yes.
you don't have to put a full-fledged police station there. You understand me, Joel? You have enough
Yes.
facilities around, and people are mobile and all the rest of it. So, and people may forget, and at first, you remember, on the leeward side of the island, when it was being fed to the people on the leeward side of the island, when we build the airport, look at how far you have to travel to go to the airport. You have to go past Kingston, go past Anna. The airport ain't bringing nothing to you. You remember that? You remember that discussion, Cecil?
Yes, very well, very well.
That's what they were saying. The opposition people who just want to pour cold water and all kind of progress was happening in the country. And then who are among the major beneficiaries we are seeing now? Which we had said would happen. That on the western side of the island, the Caribbean side, where you have lovely beaches and calm seas, that is where you're going to have on St. Vincent significant tourism development. Remember the naysayers who will say that there will never be any tourism development of any significance on mainland St. Vincent. It will only take place in the Grenadines. You remember all those talk? Huh?
Certainly.
They want to run away from those things now, but people are now seeing those with foresight. And they said the airport will bleed the country for generations to come. You know what we own the airport now? Under $200 million. Let me tell you the numbers which are inside. the budget for the airport, in the estimates and the profile for the public debt, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 loans from Taiwan in relation to the airport. The number now is $49.7 million in the aggregate, with interest rates ranging between 2.76 to 2.83. Yeah, Joel, very
Yes.
soft money. Then the Alba, $93.8 million. One loan, the biggest one, which is still there, $67.5 million is at 2%, and smaller one of $26 million is at 6%. And then, remember when we did all the equipment, we borrowed money through North Star Finance. You remember that?
Yes.
In the United Kingdom for equipment and the like now.
Mm-hmm.
And through those financing arrangements, that's $14.2 million, which is what remains there. And then CARICOM Development Fund, a number about $8 million. Well, that doesn't deal. Not all of that is remains for the airport, but if you put it, you're talking about $164 million. Under $200 million. Huh?
Yeah, I have a question.
Because remember, we got significant debt relief in 2 tranches from first 50% and then 100% of the Petrocarib debt. Remember that?
Yes.
From Venezuela. And we have significant monies from Petrocarib went to Argyle. Separate from the Alba Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Or the government of Venezuela itself through a particular fund. You imagine you have a airport which is built for $700 and something million, but valued in excess of $1 billion because of what we got in kind. And we opened it in February 2017. And Joel, you owe under $200 million. You're a big businessman.
Yes, I also wanted to get a sense of. Debt to equity there is very positive, and anyone would be glad to have that kind of debt equity arrangement. But I just want to get a sense of it.
Some of them say that nothing happens, nothing. There's been no development, no improvement in St. Vincent.
Yes. What sort of time frame though? Like, so let's say the 49 million on the Taiwan loan. How many more years you have left?
All those
roughly?
loans were range between 15, between 20 and 22 years, with 5 years grace. So they are long amortization periods and low interest rate.
Yeah, and then when we are looking at sometimes we look at debt to GDP and so forth, but what I just wanted to get a sense of, what is the tax on the government purse in any given year? So it might be 49 million that is owing to Taiwan, but that is not what is owing in 2023 to be paid. Or
No, absolutely. I take out that portion. That is what is owing. But you have to pay that back over the 15-year period which remains, or 12-year period which remains.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's the annual portion is a relatively small number now.
And then when you factor in the interest rate versus inflation, and
absolutely, absolutely. But the fact of the matter is this: that nobody around could have built the airport other than the ULP, the way we built it, and with the foreign policy arrangements and everything. That is and in the same way we build in currently the port in Kingston, with Taiwan involved and the British government and the Caribbean Development Bank, plus our own resources. As we build the Rabica Bridge, as we build all sorts of things, which we are building out. It is And by the way, the lie which is being propagated about the Argyle International Airport, that there's been no proper accounting and everything. The audited accounts for the International Airport Development Corporation, IADC, the state-owned company, the audited accounts are at SIPO.
SIPO, yeah.
Yes, they're there. Anybody can go and pay what is 50 cents a dollar or whatever the amount of money now to and look at a copy of the account.
Based on per page or something like that to be
Yeah.
paid.
It's there.
So
You
then
know.
why don't they go to SIPO and get the copies?
No, because they have done it already and they have no queries, you see.
Okay.
So what you do, since you don't have any queries there, you raise a process point that the accounts has never come to Parliament. The accounts. But the accounts, what you owe in the estimates, in the debt figure, and how the money was being spent is there in the audited accounts of the company. The IADC, the accounts of VINLEC don't come to Parliament either, because VINLEC is a company. The reporting requirement there is to, under the Companies Act, is to SIPO.
Yes.
Huh? And if it's a statutory body, the reporting arrangement is to Parliament. I mean, we have gone over these things over and over, but some of these guys have these talking points, and then they get other individuals who should know better, some of them, and they just repeat these talking points. And people get tired of that kind of stuff, you know. This negativism and this bile and anger and always, you know, accusations without any foundation. Now, in relation to the matter of Philbert, we have the survey which we did there. There were about 60-something families. What happened when we said that nobody else should go there? The number was 40-something families, and then some people went and tried and game the system now.
Okay.
You know how that goes. Huh? So you have about 60-something families there, varying sizes. And we dealt with 47 families over at Lomans from Bottom Tongue. So it's not a matter which is outside of our capacity to deal with. And the truth of the matter is this. What we did there from Bottom Tongue, we didn't have to do. And when they say, well, it's not our money, that's just not true. It is our money. It is that money which came through us in the government of St. Vincent Grendy. That has nothing to do with the CDB, with the port money.
Yes.
That came from the consolidated fund where we raise monies, both revenues and also local loans through bonds and the like. And for that we spent in excess of $4.5 million and give people, residents down in Bottom Tongue who didn't have any place of, I mean, the totality of the structures there, the dwelling structures, under $300,000, and you now have $4.5 million of housing over there, and you get your key, and you don't have to pay 1 cent.
Yes.
What an amazing story, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
But Prime Minister, those structures have since appreciated, haven't they?
Over Lomans, you mean? Of course.
So the value is,
of course, they have appreciated.
So the value is high now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No question of the houses there, and they're beautiful 1, 2, and 3 bedroom houses.
Yes.
But in relation to the Philbert, though, you're still on the Philbert subject? I have a question.
Go ahead.
Basically that I would love to see the 60-something families being transferred to appropriate locations. But
We're not
we don't want to be able to transfer the issue or the challenges or the problems that we may
No,
have
what
associated
happened is
with Poliad.
well, I tell you this, it's only a tiny minority of persons in Poliad who may be creating difficulties for the law. I think that's what you're alluding to.
Yes.
Because the vast majority of people in Poliad are hardworking people, people of discipline, people with children going to grammar school, high school, or the secondary schools, and so on and so forth. The thing is this, we are not able to find one parcel of land where we are going to be able to put all the houses. You see what I mean, Joel?
And
So
maybe,
we'd have
maybe
to
that's
do,
good.
we have to do different communities.
That's a good thing.
That's how we have to do it. Remember, a lot of people from Poliad come from all about. Some come from my constituency, you know what I mean. And the people in Poliad are good people. You know the way some people try to stigmatize Poliad as they try to stigmatize Bottom Tongue or try to stigmatize Paul's Avenue. The persons who do that are entirely wrong. It's only a tiny minority of persons, as in all communities. Cecil, you'll have a tiny minority of people who may give a particular bad name to a particular area, and it's wrong. And we have to start to look at real flesh and blood people, working people who seeking to make better lives for themselves and their families. And this is why from the very beginning we never conceptualized persons like these as squatters. That was what they were used to be called.
Yes, sir.
They are informal human settlements with emphasis on human. Huh?
Prime Minister,
That is the way we have dealt with issues.
yeah. One of the concerns I've seen
In this matter, Pijan, I will tell you at the leadership level, I have my ear is attentive to wisdom and my heart to understanding.
Yeah, Prime Minister.
It has long been established. Those propositions have long been established in the book of Proverbs.
One of the
Sorry,
concerns, one of the concerns I noticed raised in the paper is the absence of proper lighting, adequate lighting.
Yes.
Is that going to be
Well,
addressed?
what happened is this: they never gave persons connections and so on. And I said, but if the people are there for the length of time, why don't you give them connections?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
But I think what they're talking about now is what you may call street lighting or community lighting.
Yes.
Yeah, and that should be corrected. But in fairness to Vinlec, is that I think they were saying, well, listen, they didn't want to do the investment there because we are moving them, moving the persons there now.
Yes.
You see what I mean? And the chiefs of are still looking for land. There are one or two places which we can. I thought we were going to get a piece in the West St. George area to put a significant number, and then they said, well, there's some problems with the drainage, and so we are looking at different places. That's the reality, but I intend for it to be done.
Okay.
And I want to see it being done as we building the hospital.
Okay.
The hospital should be started. By the way, it's not a condition. There's no environmental issue here that we must move Poliad in order to build the hospital. We want for the whole area which we develop in there to put those houses elsewhere because of the way we are developing the city with the hospital as an anchor project. And I heard you all commenting very favorably about the kinds of activities which are taking place in Annisville now, business activities of all different kinds.
Yes.
And the hospital would add the $200 million acute referral hospital would add it in that regard. So that's the issue in relation to Pole Yard. Down at Peter's Hope, the Black Sands, a formal application came for an extension of the timelines for them to complete, first of all, the first 50 rooms, which is the 10 blocks which you have there, Pijan. You know the area well.
Yes.
5 to each. That is sometime early next year, as I recall the time, late this year or early next year. I don't have the precise time. And then to build out the 200-room hotel before the end of 2025. And some of the problems were related to the organization, the investors themselves, but some obviously related to COVID and the volcanic eruption. You know, Pijan, one has to be reasonable. Even one is taking a position that, look, you should have been further along. There were, in fact, challenges with COVID and the volcanic eruptions. Nobody can deny those. So they make the application, and we have done an extension. What are the other ones which you?
So you're saying that they don't have any financing issues, Mr. PM?
Well, not as far as I have been informed. Not as far as I have been informed. You need, when you're doing a project of this size, you need to have a proper structure on the ground. Joel, you can't do it by distance.
Yes.
It's elementary. At least elementary to me. And I think to a lot of people.
But the way
So the matter has been, from my vantage point, an issue of how they're organizing their activity. And they reviewed what they were doing, and they put some things in place, and we will see what will happen as a result of that.
Okay, I heard that there were intermediaries and they have problems in raising the requisite capital, and I do hope that they have been able to address these issues.
Yeah. Well, certainly, if they complete as within another year period, these 50 rooms, that would be a significant, and ancillary facilities now, like restaurants and the like.
Yes.
That would be a significant addition to room stock on that side of the island, even before they do the 200-room
Yes.
hotel now.
Yes.
Because I haven't gone into them, but from I've gone into the blocks. But as far as I see from the drawings and the photographs which have been shown by the technical people, they seem to be doing good work. I don't know if if you had gone into any of them.
No.
Yeah, you all should probably request an opportunity to go and see that. And if I could facilitate that, I'll do it. You know.
We'll explore that for sure, Prime Minister.
Yes. So it's good because your program has evolved as a program of real authority and real substance and maturity that people rely on you to like you did the reporters down at Bucament now.
As we did
Because if you didn't do that, is a lot of he say, she say, a lot of this kind of a discussion. Do we believe what Ralph is saying? Do we believe what some critic is saying? But you all go on the ground and you all talk to people and you all see what is actually happening.
We did.
Look, what a number of persons don't appreciate is this. A company with the international brand of sandals, they are more interested in the environment than some persons who, on an episodic basis, get excited about environmental issues. Because they sell, the product they sell, you must have a good environment. Huh? Joel, you're not going to invest $550 million and skimp on any environmental issue.
No, you can't. It's an important
But that's the
component.
point. And that's why you find establishments like Sandals and establishments like Musti Company, where they have a particular reputation and they themselves, the product which they're selling, they want it to be in sync with the environment. That they always work pretty well with the planning authorities and and all the state authorities which touch and concern these matters.
But PM, I wouldn't necessarily throw cold water on the efforts of the so-called environmentalists. But my thing is, why don't they request to have dialogue with Sandals directly, rather than go on the thing and then put something in the newspaper? Go and talk with the project developers and who will run the place.
Well, the point, Joel, as I said, this is a free and democratic country. Persons can talk and they can write and so forth. And it's good that there's a heightening sense of what is environmentally viable and the like. And we, in our government, we have established those standards also. Not only to build the environment, but our cultural heritage also. You remember when Buchanan came first, I was out of the blocks talking about we need to make sure that what project they have there don't affect people going to lay down get the tree down at Buchanan.
Yes.
Because I'm a tree man from Canary. It's every tree season I have to get me tree. I love me tree cake. I mean, it is true to say that the best tree cake in the whole world, the whole of St. Vincent and Grenadines, they're made in Canary.
You would have a challenge with that in our Prime Minister.
I know. But yes, but and in the same way, coming down on the Vermont River, we have been building out. We have been doing parcels along the way, roads. City fences, river defenses, along the river, coming down. And when we do the river defense, we do river training. Because it's very expensive business. So we do river defense and we also do river training. And I'm very happy to see that you had local investors with the foresight of the Graves and Ace and so forth to put facilities down there because they saw where this was going to lead.
Yes.
And the place is developing beautifully. And I remind the persons on the leeward side of the island, from Fitzhugh all the way, from Richmond all the way coming up on the leeward side of the island, that you are now becoming and have become major beneficiaries of the Argyle International Airport. And you would also see that we invested over $24 million in the roadway, the main road, and widened areas of it between Hospital Road, Joel, and Lake Post Office
That's along the Nelson Mandela Highway.
Highway.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're the ones.
go ahead.
We're the ones who before that activated the program, which had been earlier signed by the NDP government, and nothing was done for 2.5 years with the World Bank, and they were pulling back the money when we arrived in office. And I took over disaster preparedness very early in the administration, within a month of the administration, the life of the administration, and build the Lake waterfront. In fact, it cost us more than it would have cost originally, but there it is. Because of the length of time they had taken before they could do anything. That's when we set up NEMO and all the rest of it. All that was part and parcel of the project.
Prime Minister,
you-
Minister Brewster referred to the Buckerman area as a growth pole. Would you say there are others in Arnorsville
Yes,
and Diamond?
absolutely,
yeah.
all of them. And in fact, you're seeing it emerging in other parts of the country, and you'll see it. You see what is happening up in South Rivers as a tourism site, rural tourism site with 14,
River 14.
with River 14.
That's the Gecko
And
site.
the Gecko site, and you will see what is happening. You will see the development which will take place in Bellevue, the educational, cultural, artistic, and production hub, where we intend to invest close to $20 million there, soft loan from the Saudi fund, and there would be a satellite hub, a satellite to that at Peterborough, because you're going to deal you have to deal with the creative arts and entertainment. And of course, Joel, there will be a big cultural complex after 2025 when we go down to the port. We go down to the western end of the city with the modern port. When we move all the structures which we have by the port, Old Port Kingston.
Yeah, and geese shed and
And we have a lot of land there to do a lot of development, and that's where we look in investors. You see the money which we put together for the port and so on. There are things which we have to manage. But my head is on other big projects, including the further development of the western end of the city, Rose Place, and also the eastern end of the city, including where the current Port Kingston is.
And of course,
And in between that, Little Tokyo. So all the various areas. On last week, I had a discussion with KCCU. KCCU is going to build. They're going to buy close to 15,000 square feet of land from us in Georgetown, from the government. It's obliquely opposite to where the Bank of St. Vincent is, where we have done the seawall in the lower part of Georgetown, the sea defense. We have about 30,000 square feet of land there. And we're going to sell them almost half of it for an agreed development, where they're going to put down a KCCU regional headquarters plus other things. So you notice we are having development all throughout the country and doing it in a very balanced manner. Every single area is getting activity. The same thing was happening in the Grenadines.
I was just about to ask you in terms of the growth pole. I was in Canaan recently and saw the hard evidence of a growth pole there.
Absolutely.
The marina and the other hotel on closer to the administrative center.
Yes. And while we are doing those things in economic terms, we're strengthening the social safety net, we're building out the housing, playing fields, hard courts, lots of other things taking place. You notice what is happening at Diamond. I mean, the way this place is going up fast. The hotel there, the Holiday Inn Express, and of course other facilities there, and very critically, the St. Vincent Beach Stadium.
You mentioned other facilities, PM. I would like to say that you may also choose to mention that Courageous continues its expansion at Diamond.
That's right.
Absolutely, Courageous is continuing its expansion at Diamond. You know, for instance, Joel, that after Courageous had bought the property from Diamond Dairy,
Yes.
you know the number of years while you were in Courageous that I was on your case for getting this project going, and you know what an issue which was being held was holding it up until there was proper negotiations.
Yes, yeah, quite aware.
Yes, and we see how we reasonableness on everybody's part made sure that we had a resolution of that issue.
Yes.
And look at the investments which are now taking place.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, with more to follow.
With more to follow. By the way, I wanted Cecil. You know, this Holiday Inn Express is not of what you may call the normal garden variety Holiday Inn Express you see other places. You notice that it has other features, additional features. Because I always said, once we're doing the investment, let us add a little some more on it so that we can see how we can put in facilities where families would be able to go there and enjoy the place. I'm talking about local families.
Okay.
A farmer in Park Hill or Chester Cottage or in Chile or in Fancy must be able to take his family down there on a Saturday or a Sunday to spend a couple of hours, if they wish to do so. In this way, you let them feel that they, in a cultural sense, in a social sense, that they own the place. You see where I'm coming from?
So what kind of facilities will be there for that purpose, Prime Minister?
Well, I have spoken to them, and I'm hoping that it will end up, for instance, a swimming pool.
Okay.
You know, that we could get that. There's some discussion still on that.
Mm-hmm.
But as you would expect, Pigeon, that I wouldn't just see a building for the purpose of creating value in an economic sense. You know, I'd always look for social value and the social solidarity and the integration of our people in the enjoyment of the facilities which are available. We must all own it. And the farmer and the fisherman must turn up there.
Prime Minister,
And
we have a couple more questions for you, but I want to just go back to the port and focus on the economics of it a little bit. Can you tell us how many acres are you recovering from the reclaiming from the port?
I think it's about 16 acres.
16. That's what I thought. Yes.
Yes, if I recall the number correctly.
But 16 and put in a value of about $200, maybe more per square foot. You're talking about a significant amount of money,
Oh,
man.
it's a big number. It's a big
No, no,
number.
no. Well, to begin with, Cecil, that the value of that is more than likely approaching $450 to $500 a square foot.
Oh, is that right?
Undoubtedly, that's
Yes.
correct.
So you're talking
By
about
the
over
way-
$1 billion, Prime Minister.
Yes. By the way, I am the government. I've given instructions to the chief surveyor to engage the National Lottery for us, the government, to buy the property which the National Lottery owns there. You know, the complex, what is called the Anglican School Annex.
Yes.
Formerly,
Yes.
you remember that property there, no?
Mm.
Yes, yes.
That's owned by the National Lottery as part of their asset base.
There's supposed to be an internal a sporting facility there.
Yes, but that can't be done there anymore. We'll have to do that when we do the cultural sporting complex at the after 2025, when we have the additional lands up at the current Kingston port.
Okay.
But Prime Minister, the point I wanted for you to clarify with us is that the value of the reclamation process is happening. It's going to pay more than pay for the cost of building the port.
Well, the
higher.
point is this: what is going to be important with the port is not just the value of the asset, but as you would appreciate, Joel, that the operating costs, including paying off the debt that the dance pay for the light.
Yes.
Mhm.
Huh?
Yes.
And we are interested in what we intend to do there is to form for us to have a company, a state company, and get other private sector entities, local, regional, external to the region, who may wish to buy in shares, so that we can run a proper management operation of this particular enterprise, and have a port authority remaining as the regulatory body for ports, rather than have a regulatory body which is at the same time one which owns and operates ports.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
Split the functions now.
Yes.
Prime Minister, we're looking at the time because we are committed to finish
Yes.
at 1 o'clock the program today.
And I myself, I have to go because I have to go to the airport. I'm going to Trinidad
okay.
for this crime and security conference.
Okay.
CARICOM.
But there are two important
Yes.
points we want you to respond on, Joel. You want to? But before you do, somebody is reminding us, sorry, that you had said one time that at the Holiday Inn Express there will be a 50-meter swimming pool. Is that still in the?
Well, I wanted a, that is what I'm going for. I don't know if we will get that.
Oh, okay.
I wanted us to have a particular pool of a particular type there, and there is. So I'm awaiting Camilo's final discussion with the people.
Okay. Joel, there are two concerns.
Yeah, I have two issues, but the first one is relates to a comment that you would have made on, I think, on a program on another radio station in relation to the use of hard coats.
Yes.
And I just want to get a clarification whether or not this comment is related to all hard coats publicly owned, or this is hard coats located on school compounds. And
No,
if so,
these are hard coats owned by the hard coats and schools. Government hard coats and schools. What is happening, Joel? The hard coats which we have are not designed to accommodate fetes. Just not designed to accommodate these kind of fetes. what we have. They're sporting facilities. And schools, we used to allow school weddings for schools. We don't, for some time now, we don't allow them because we have built learning resource centers. When we had weddings in schools, the wedding will take place on a Saturday or Sunday, and on Monday, either half day or the whole day. People can't go into the schools because what is left now, the garbage, how the thing isn't properly rearranged back and so on and so forth, and the destruction of state property. I know one news report, one online publication had that I'd said plain fields, but I did not say that. In fact, I introduced the discussion on the hard court, talking about what the hard court, which there was an elementary, basic hard court in Georgetown, going up to Chile area, and we have done it over, and we put in bleachers, we put in changing rooms and bathrooms, and we have put the wall fence around it. We have done it. And then somebody called me and told me that somebody was circulating some leaflet that they're going to have a fete inside of there. Yeah? So I had to go on the radio and say, well, I called National Lottery and asked them if they gave such permission. They said no. I should know that they wouldn't do that because I'd spoken to them about things like that before. So I said, well, the only thing that I know about is a gospel concert which is taking place at the Chile playing field. And I said in my comments that is a different matter altogether. But Joel, I don't see how we can justify, anybody can reasonably justify, that you're having these fetes where people jumping up and they tossing this and that, and creating and mashing up the place. I don't see how that there are enough spaces that you can have your fetes.
Well, yeah, because I wondering about the alternative, recognizing the social value of these types of activities. What is there for promoters to use, especially if you're going outside of the suburban area?
Well, what has been happening is that there have been some open spaces in some particular areas where people can put up tents and they can do things.
But they're not enclosed.
Yes, some of them are not. Well, most of them are not enclosed. So you'll have to put up, if it's temporary perimeter fencing. You can't have a wet fete, for instance, on a plain field. So you'll have to have somewhere else.
And that elsewhere, not unless they go like on the tarmac or something like that, to get permission.
Well, the tarmac at the top is available now. But when the hospital is there, that would not be available. And of course,
yes,
when the city is built out, but there will be space in the city for that kind of activity.
Yes,
there'll be open space in the city for that kind of activity.
So what?
There's an open space in Kingston now at the car park, the Solidarity car park.
Yes. So yeah, because I'm just asking, what are the options?
And there is for having big cultural events, entertainment, and the like. You have that at Victoria Park, for instance, or you can have it at any other playing field. But if you're going to, you can't put on a wet fete at Victoria Park because you'll make the field waterlogged.
Yes. But you can have a...
So that really, Joel, what we are talking about is not the problem of having mass activities, because there are enough places to have mass activities. Is when people are talking about having, let's say if you're having a wet fete.
Yeah.
Huh? No. In Mesopotamia, we have at the moment some urea stored in the facility at Lakwa, and I'm asking Saboto, and he and I spoke about it, to have that moved out so that could be cleaned in time so that people can have that for in the carnival season.
Yes.
Where they normally have an activity there now. So I'm very mindful of this. But I don't see how we can reasonably. I don't know where else in the world you're going to have these small hard courts. Because they're all relatively small hard courts, designed for sporting purposes. And have this kind of activity with the number of feet pounding and all of these places and the fence, you're pushing it down and all sorts of things. I mean, there are sporting people too, you know.
Yes. Would you make the distinction between a fete and say a concert? So, for example, if apart from a gospel, a calypso tent, for example, may want to use a hard coat to put on a calypso show in the rural area, especially where they would be starved for calypso activity.
Well, it certainly depends. It certainly depends on the size of what you're going to have and where you're going to put the seating, because none of these hard courts in the rural area, not even the one in Georgetown, would have the numbers of seats to accommodate a calypso tent.
Well, I wish that the numbers would have been huge for calypso tents, because the numbers have dropped significantly.
I know they have been dwindling.
Significantly.
I know they have been dwindling. Yeah. So that's where I'm sure that we can have these facilities. In many places you have learning resource centers, but even the space in the learning resource centers is not the hall is not large enough.
Prime Minister,
but in some places you may have like in Langley Park, you have a facility almost similar to the one up at Lakwa. You can do things at Raboka. You have to put up lights. You have to put fence. We have to do things, but we can't. Not because we. You can have a calypso tent inside of the Chili playing field. You see what I mean? A lot of people will be standing.
Yes.
Like what happened at Victoria Park when you have when you have semifinals. Now people are sitting, but of course you have far more people standing.
Yes.
Prime Minister,
I think the real problem is this phenomenon of wet fetes. Because you can't hold a wet fet inside on a playing field.
No.
You can hold a wet fet down by a beach. But then there's the sand, you know. I don't know whether the sand, you know, you can't really fet in sand.
We'd have to come back to this topic sometime in the future, Prime Minister.
But certainly, I'm not supporting the use of the schools and also the hard courts for any kind of a fet.
Okay.
Because I see the destruction which happens. And the strange thing is that the very persons who destroy it are the same persons who tell you why you don't fix it.
Although they did say that they had to pay a caution fee. And the caution fee was less than $2,000.
I mean, well,
But
I don't really want.
I think we have to get back to
There's more I
that.
can say
Yes.
about those things.
Yeah,
but
yeah, okay.
We have to get back in the context of the time we have remaining. Prime
Yes,
Minister.
and I have to go too.
There's another issue, but again, we'd have to put that back. The Taiwan.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate.
okay.
All right,
All
then.
right,
good.
Thanks for calling. Yes. We have still about 12
Yeah,
minutes.
so
to
maybe we
go.
can entertain one or two other callers.
But before we do, there are one or two comments which I would want to just share with our listeners. For example, when Minister Brewster was on the line with us, there's one person suggesting traffic can be solved by the use of ferries along the coast. So that's one consideration, I think. When I had raised a question
Yes.
about the traffic, somebody said from abroad, it seems like, oh, St. Croix, the person said, wow, that minister is absolutely awesome. So, Mr. Brewster, thumbs up for you. As somebody's from St. Croix wants to share with us. And somebody's asking about new green space included in any of the new development projects in Kingston. Well, we didn't really mention any. There's a call. Let's take this call on here. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Providence. Good afternoon, Mr. Ryan. Good afternoon, Pigeon.
Greetings to you.
Greetings.
Yeah, I just calling to appeal to Mr. Ryan and Mr. Providence to if they could organize for us the Jim Maloney Drum Academy to get 4 bench bill from the prison to be setting up the training school behind the police canteen upstairs the market. Jim Maloney stepping up. Jim Maloney.
Hear me.
Kwame,
we have to use the time judiciously. Have you made any attempt yourself to reach out to the?
Well, no,
hold on. Listen to my question. Listen to my question before you respond.
I don't get the place.
Listen to my question. Mr. Bailey, who is the acting superintendent of the prison, I'm sure he'd be willing to hear from you. To speak with him, and then we go from there. All right?
Well, yeah.
Okay,
I'm saying that when I talk to them tomorrow, see if any finance.
Talk with Mr. Bailey. Talk with
yeah,
acting superintendent Bailey. All right? And
yeah,
then
we want to talk to him, and then from there we go step.
All right, then. Good. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
We have another call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, greetings, brothers. Cecil, brother John, and Mr. Providence.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Two issues quickly. First, let me add to the discussion what Comrade gave just now pertaining to plain fee.
I'm sorry about that. So yes, Jolly, I think he was in.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all,
he's calling back.
Okay.
Get it quickly. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, I don't know what cut off there. You get me cut off.
Well, it must be something that I'm doing. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
So I'm saying it's something being
is wrong. So yes, Gerald.
Yeah, I envisage that green space, a lot of green space would be placed at Annesville in the new city. I think that the Prime Minister would have spoken about this on more than one occasion, and I have no reason to doubt that that the plans would include green spaces there in particular. And I assume that, in that area where the cruise ship terminal is now and where the geisha and so on, what could be put there could be a fantastic location for a number of related activities, with the provision, even as you mentioned, for a nice shuttle for moving persons, if they care to, by sea down to the leeward side. I think that we also need a nice facility where people can go to Beckway and so on at different times, different hours, and come back. Even early evening rather than say at 5 o'clock or anything like that. There are a couple of things.
Just before we go on, as you mentioned Beckway, I noticed that Braxa has done some fantastic work under the mango tree area, enhancing
the almond tree.
The almond tree, not the mango tree. Enhancing the parking area.
Okay.
It looks. I've seen it on Facebook and it looks fantastic. Yes. Just want to give kudos to Braxa. Yes, sorry, you're going on to say.
Yeah, okay. There's a couple of things that we don't have to discuss them now, but we did not include in the discussion with Minister Brewster. One had to do with the Bamboo Road is located just next
that's
to
right.
And so what's happening with Bamboo Road? I mean, perhaps it remains in private hands, but certainly that could be something that could be included in the overall mix and so on. And you know, it can have its own image and profile and so forth, but at the same time fits into the overall plan for what can be done in South and Central Leeward. We have great dive sites in just in Petty Bayard, just around the corner from Buckerman. And so some of the best dive sites in St. Vincent and Grenadines are located right there and so forth. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I mean, it's so sad that we lost the Pirates of the Caribbean movie site as we knew it to be down there in Walilabu. And I'm just wondering if they can perhaps reconstruct something.
That is privately owned still, isn't it?
Yes, but I think it's something that can be addressed. I mean, we can still deal with it because it's such thing that we are actually taking persons there, and even like the taxi drivers are, you take them to Albert to say, "Oh, we're going to the Paris," and there's nothing really to see. And that is why now someday I have to go back to a bookament and say, well, okay, well, you can spend some time just outside the Bistone restaurant area and so forth. But in truth and in fact, that is something that could be looked at and so forth. And then lastly, on the Bayard development as a whole, not just in terms of the dive sites, but in terms of the what's on the other side. There was a small hotel there at one point over the hill, and see whether or not anything can be done at Bayard to complement the overall development in the area. I just wanted to raise those particular matters.
Somebody had, well, Gaines earlier suggested a cable car system from Sandals to Nature Trail.
Really?
He thinks so, but that would take away from the livelihood.
No, but I can't see how
it's not practical.
No, it's not practical. Not unless you're coming over the hill from Rillan Hill and then you're coming down.
It's not practical. And plus, it would take away from the livelihood possibilities for persons who want to do ground tours.
Yeah,
you know, you got to think about that.
It's not impossible to do something from Rillan Hill, but certainly not from
not from Sandals
and not from the golf course. You go from flat to flat. You need a hillside and so on for that to be done, in my opinion.
But in mine, it would take away from the livelihood possibilities for persons who want to do tours, ground tours.
Yes.
Rather than a single investor or investment in a real thing, cable thing. Well, if you make it, leave it as it is, and let persons come, residents,
and go up to Vermont and
let them. That's space for livelihood for a number of persons.
Yeah, just and if you're promoting fitness,
exactly as part of the
experience.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be more appropriate to be on the
cable system is for another part of the country.
Yes,
not for that. I don't think.
There's one I think Minister Brewster made reference to private rentals and so on to visitors and so forth. And there are a number of persons who are actually registered in the Airbnb system.
I think he had said 600 and asked.
Yeah, 600 something. I was very surprised, and I'm just raising the question now as to whether or not there's a registration program organized by whether it's through the Tourism Authority or the Ministry of Tourism, or whether or not there's a registration program, and how can it be done and so on, because they really should be included within the entire accommodation profile of St. Vincent.
Gentlemen, we have only about 5 minutes remaining, and Pigeon, we have taken the responsibility to be the partner with the census.
Yes.
So we have to say something this week. We are obligated.
Well, I prefer to wait until we hear more official information coming from the census, from the organizer.
They did promise. Mrs. Williams did promise going forward they would find a day to be on our program. It can be next week because we have Minister Peters coming on next week.
What I could say is that I urge young persons people in transition to look out for the announcements when they're going to recruit enumerators, so they could be part of the program.
And also to encourage our listeners to themselves keep the ear sharp so that they would be prepared to assist in the process of data collection, offering information when the enumerators come around. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid about. Nobody's going to, peep into your business.
And
it's
just
just data.
Just to acknowledge, of course, before we leave, the Alba Games.
Oh yes,
First I'm hearing about the Alba Games.
Well, about a huge contingent.
A huge contingent in, I understand, 6 disciplines.
Yes,
in Venezuela.
Yes.
Perhaps we should see more about that next week.
But somebody was asking whether or not there could be a bank in Chateaubriand. Earlier when the Prime Minister was on, what about the bank in Chateaubriand? Any more than it? Is there one plan for Chateaubriand?
I know one of the credit unions is actively considering a branch in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I believe as well that maybe Minister Carlos James might be able to shed some light on this.
Okay.
There's some consideration for development of commercial facilities near the seaside in Chateaubriand, and I don't know if consideration was had included a banking facility.
Okay, somebody was just asking. And lastly, in terms of WhatsApp, earlier when we were discussing the question of beach and white sand importation and so on, somebody was asking whether or not Prime Minister Mitchell was one who permitted the importation of beach adjacent to his business in Beckway. I'm not familiar. Are you?
No, but there was not everybody. There was really for storage of warehousing of sand and so on from Guyana in Beckway, just near to the in Port Elizabeth, and there was actually a warehouse built there which stored sand.
Well, maybe that.
But this was again when Prime Minister Mitchell was just generally talking about not using the sand at our beaches in St. Vincent because of concern about erosion, and that we should buy imported sand, and that they were looking at sand at Lomans in St. Vincent and also in Beckway for storage. And it basically, that sand that came in was basically the white sand, but it was mainly for construction.
All right. So, gentlemen, we're on time today in terms of concluding the program. So we want to just, first of all, we want to alert our listeners that next week, Sunday, we would have Senator Peters in studio with us, and she's going to be talking about foreign policy matters, including she's supposed to be going to Guyana this week to take part in a discussion. I'm not sure. I don't have it recorded what exactly the discussion is going to be. Something to do with CARICOM ministers. But she having come back recently from a meeting in Spain, where she had a very important meeting in connection with the preparation for the CELAC summit that's going to take place in Spain. So she would be able to report on that. Certainly, we're going to ask about all these developments happening in West Kingston in terms of the port.
Why is that in West Kingston? Why would you speak with Minister Peters about development?
Oh, she has indicated on this program in the past that she has political interest in West Kingston.
Just checking.
I know, including saying how she did some work in Edinburgh and she was building beats with the youngsters she met there. You remember that? Yes. So we're going to ask her to build some beats on the program and perhaps render them. Who knows?
So she's confirming that she's going to be a candidate for a party.
Well, yeah, she says she has interest, high interest, in fact. So that's why we want to ask her. When she comes on, we're going to ask her about West Kingston. I'm sure she'll be prepared to speak and be willing to. So she would be on next week, Sunday, and we would be engaging her on a number of wide-ranging issues, and particularly to foreign policy.
Yes,
even the Taiwan
PRC issue.
Yes.
Yeah, and regrettably, the foreign policy and foreign affairs is something that interests me greatly,
Well, there you go.
including from my own studies from many years ago. But regrettably, I may have to skip next week and the next 2 weeks, next 2 Sundays. But I'll be back around the 6th or 7th of May.
People are expecting you to be back. In fact, I'm looking at a message here. True, Mr. Providence is a very smart man. That's what somebody said. So they're expecting you.
Oh, sometimes people really call a smart man, you know.
Well, this is a positive smart man. Positive use of the word. All right. So, gentlemen, any Pigeon? Quick. Joel, quick. Oh, you've said it anyway.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah. All right. So, on behalf of Pigeon and Joel, and of course, all the other persons who called in, we should thank you very much for listening to us this week. And we invite you to join another It's Your Hand program next week. My name is Cecil and good afternoon.
The heart and soul of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. WEFM is SVG.
99.9
WEFM.